when we come to whenever we come to this particular section of 2 Samuel, I always have to say a little prayer for my nephew. He has a very unique name that is only found in two places in popular writing. He was either named after Uriah the Hittite or Uriah the Heap, the antagonist in David Copperfield. I suspect the inspiration my brother and sister-in-law had was from 2 Samuel. And gosh, he is a righteous man. When you read this, Uriah here is a good man. And whenever I read this, my brain can sometimes, whenever I read scripture, sometimes my brain can go through interesting spots in terms of analogies and so this particular scene makes me think of an episode of Saved by the Bell. I don't know if you remember that show back in early 90s. And David is acting like some version of Zach Morris, plotting some scheme, and then that eventually snowballs into something huge and bigger and more, he just goes, it's like dig into the hole deeper and deeper and deeper, and finally by the end, he has to finally admit what's happened and learn the lesson, right? But this one affects people's lives in tremendous ways. And it's a reminder to us, this is why we have to be mindful. What can first start from a very, in an internal place, it's not hurting anybody. If we don't nip it in the bud, can easily start cascading. And eventually it spills into something bigger and more impactful. All right? And where does it start with David? Here's the one thing that should catch us. The line that should tell us, David's not doing something as he should. It's in the first line of the text today. At the turn of the year, when kings go out on campaign, and where is David? The king. David remained in Jerusalem, and we see him, this scene, rising from his siesta, strolling on the roof of the palace, at a time when kings go out on campaign, needing to be lean and in shape and ready to go fight side by side with his soldiers. Ready for campaign, ready for battle, ready to be in the midst and the thick of it. To do like Uriah, right? When presented with particular, carnal temptations, no. I must be in discipline. I must discipline my passions for the sake so that my mind is squared away for the task at hand, to be sharp and ready for battle. This is the danger of a leisure culture. We exist in one. In many ways, this was the downfall of Rome, right? When they started getting into a leisure culture, we can get it invites us to get lazy. First in our physical lives and then our spiritual lives. It impacts both. There's something to be said, about that, like subsistence living. When you're, when you're too busy just working to just put the basic needs on the to put food on the table, heat in the home, clothes on the back, the basic things. When you get done with those basic subsistence things, you're not tired to do anything else and to to even if you have a temptation, you're like, oh, I can't. There's something to be said about that. And for us who live in a leisurely culture, there is always these temptations to be in these moments of siesta, where these moments, and to be open and susceptible to the possible temptations that lurk, that can slowly creep in, first in thought, and once it's latched into thought, into heart, and then what if, and maybe then manifest out from us. So you see the flow within David. He first lusted in his mind, in his heart. Then he acted, took advantage of his role as king. And then when he found out, oh, she's conceived, let me just try to figure out let me try to figure out a way to hide it so that I don't get caught. I don't get, Turns out Uriah is a much more righteous man. He's not one to be manipulated. And when in doubt, well, let's put him in a situation where he will be killed. Again, what started out with something small, an inkling in the mind, had tremendous impact. We always want to be, especially spiritually, we always want to be lean. Ready for spiritual battle. The devil will take any opportunity. He'll take advantage of any opportunity to catch us off guard. And so we always want to be, in our spiritual lives, ready. To be, in that sense, lean. Fit for battle. And so let's take an opportunity and this today, to rest with David's, as I say, learning from David's what not to do, right? The via negativa, learning from via negativa. What can we learn from his story? Where are some areas in which maybe I find myself too leisurely, so to speak? Where maybe there's situations I open the door to a few too many temptations. Maybe I haven't followed through on any of them, but I do recognize, the possibilities exist, and given the right circumstances, maybe, that maybe I'm not paying attention to my mind. I'm a little more fatigued one day. All these, the right circumstances may erupt. And if I'm in that position, in that circumstance, I may give in. So let's take an opportunity to just reflect on our own lives so we can shore up our defenses, get ourselves spiritually ready for whatever spiritual combat may come our way. And if we need help, That's why Uriah, he's smart. He stayed with his fellow soldiers, fellow officers, the people that he knew that when he would go out to battle had his back, who would keep him in line, who would keep them mentally focused. That's why it's good to have good people in our lives to help us with that, to hold that accountability. So that, we don't follow the same path of downfall that David did. And when we do make those mistakes, let us always remember that we do have a loving God who gives us opportunity to turn to him. Not to take that opportunity for granted. Not to say well, I'll do this because I know I know God will forgive me. We don't want to get into that habit either. But we always want to be in this place of being lean, being ready, and not give the devil any space to let temptation fall into the place of sin.